Hi, my name is Mark Titus. I am the owner and operator of All American Backflow Prevention. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to test the pressure vacuum breaker using the USC 10th edition test procedures. First thing we need to do, notify, identify, inspect, and observe. You notify your customer you're there to test the assembly. You identify the assembly, make sure you're testing the correct assembly. You inspect the assembly, make sure there's nothing broken, nothing missing, and you observe the area around the assembly as well. Now the first thing we need to do is flush our test cocks. In any order, test cock 1, test cock 2. We can remove our canopy so we can observe our air inlet. I use a high side hose with a bleed valve already installed on the hose, so it's where you need it, when you need it, regardless of which test cock it is on. We're going to connect it to test cock number 2. We're going to test the air inlet first. If this bleed valve was down on test cock 1, it acts like a piece of pipe until you put your hose on it. That's why I like to leave it on my hose so I don't forget to use it. Okay? We're going to turn on our number 2. We're going to get the air out of our high side of the gauge. We're going to shut off our number 2 shut-off valve. We're going to lift our gauge to the body of the same level as the body of the assembly, and we're going to shut off our number 1. Okay? Now we're always draining through test cock 2. Test cock 2 happens to be hooked up to our gauge, so we're going to open our high side bleed valve. And we're going to watch that gauge, and we're going to watch the air inlet. When the air inlet pops open, we'll take that reading. That's a little air. It popped at 1.2. It's above 1. We have a good air inlet. You remove your hose to make sure it's drained all the way and opened all the way. We'll come down here and we'll hook up to test cock number 1. Shut our number 2 test cock. Open our assembly. Pre-pressurize it. Open test cock number 1. Get the air out of our gauge. Got the air out. Lift our gauge up once again. We're going to shut off our number 1. And this time we're just going to drain from test cock number 2. We turn that on and we're going to see where our gauge stops. We've already got the air inlet. We're not watching for that a second time. We're seeing where the gauge stops. Looks like it's done draining and our gauge is stopped at about a 2.5. So we have a 1.2 and a 2.5. This PVB is good. We're going to shut off our test cocks. Turn on our number 1. Turn on our number 2 to get our customer back in service. Reinstall our canopy and remove our equipment. Pressure vacuum breaker. Air inlet was 1.2 and 2.5. Open fully. Pressure vacuum breaker. Air inlet was 1.2. Check valve is 2.5 and it did open fully. This is a Febco 765. Size is 1 inch. And our serial number HJ45. 522. That completes our test.